Hello, everybody. Welcome to our review of Mick
Jenkins.
Fuck, Mick Jenkins' Pieces of a Man album review. My name is HSR.
My name is Chris Chrome.
And we are going to go through the album track by track and give our thoughts and let you know what we think about each and every one of them. And if you don't care about the introduction part of this, you can feel free to check in the description to see when the episode actually starts. We do like to start by saying we are not necessarily the most well-knowledged hip-hop heads. We are on this quest to learn and just kind of acquire new knowledge, so we're just publicly putting that out there as we check out these albums.
Yep.
So it's some honest thoughts and feelings, even though we are fully open to being completely wrong about anything we say, and that's where you, fine audience person watching this.
Well, learning from your mistakes help you grow.
That's how we interpret it. So if you in the comments want to correct us or engage us in some conversation or let us know how you feel about it or anything of the sort, you can. And to show we love the comments, we like to read our favorite comment of last week every single time. And last week's video was what, Chris?
Dem Atlas, bad actress.
That's right. That was our third week in a row of some rhyme sayers. And on that, the comment I thought was most interesting was from Ismail Gadamsi, where he educated us and said he was on a rock group before becoming a rapper. Education makes sense in light of how the album sounds.
Yep.
And he was influenced by punk and jazz. No wonder he have a unique style. Well said, Ismail. I agree. His influences are Far Side, we've reviewed them. Nas, we've reviewed them. Minor Threat, we should maybe review them. Bad Brains, I don't know who that is, so I have to look that up. Louis Armstrong, that's cool. And Billie Holiday, that's also cool. He also has a mixtape where he's rapping over doom beats, and it's free on Bandcamp, and I feel like I should go check that out.
That's
Comments like that I like to bring love to because they educate, they offer some cool stuff. Like once somebody told me about a better translator than Google Translate. Anyway,
Dun, dun, dun.
That's kind of irrelevant. Let's give a quick love to our patrons. Our patrons are Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Super Old School 1994, dope dude. He makes beats that sound cool. And Linda Williams, dope dude. He comments and actually participates by giving grades and reviews. Love it.
Yep.
So if you want to join the community, we'll talk a bit about that at the end. And in the meantime, before the episode starts, we need to talk about the SQDC. This is, and we're going to keep doing this because I want y'all to follow this journey of legal marijuana with me. All right? Because the people, I can't talk about this at work, really, right? Like, you can't go up to your colleagues and be like, you can talk about legal weed.
I can.
Well, I could when it was on the news, and now everyone's moved on and there's other topics to talk about, right? But we need to discuss this. So, Quebec didn't understand the demand for marijuana in this country.
Okay, we ran out, guys. I'm just going to spoil it. We ran out.
I know, but I'm going to tell it better than that.
Listen, all I can say is by 2:30 on the first day, all of the magnificent,
everything high grade was sold out basically by
high grade, or was it average grade?
No, high grade. The medium stuff has been...
Wow, that's even different.
So check it. There has been medium stuff available online for a while. And you could go to the store and they would probably get resupplied every day a little bit of product and then just keep reselling out of the same stuff. One of the companies said, we're ready for this and we are willing to step up to the challenge, and has been there and supplying on a basically meeting up. The other people are growing and catching up. And over the next few months, it looks like Quebec, and not necessarily the rest of Canada, because the rest of Canada may have handled this better. I haven't been following it quite as closely. But Quebec has mismanaged the situation. What it means is there were news reports where people were shocked that a guy went back on day 2 who had been there on day 1, right? And stuff like that, where you're realizing people who
not for occasional use.
People who don't really smoke don't really understand how much people who smoke do. So that happened. Quebec is out of weed, and they were faced with a couple of choices in light of how bad the restocking situation is versus paying out employee salaries and stuff and dealing with the situation.
Oh, no.
They were faced with a couple of choices. One of them was closing one of their 12 stores. So they were honestly considering closing stores to deal with this, but they did not choose to do that. Instead, you will only be able to purchase marijuana Thursday through Sunday in Quebec at these stores, and they're now closed Monday through Wednesday until the resupply issue is over, in an effort to keep keep the supply in control. But you gotta understand this, like for real.
I got a thing.
The lines are still around the corner every day, all day.
Right.
And it's been over a week that it's been open, even though everyone knows it's basically only bad shit
But like,
left.
I don't. Okay, so first off, I personally believe I don't think that the lines consist of the same identical people. I think
No.
there might be some people who have gone back day after day.
But I do think it's like a 2-3 hour wait to get there.
Yes, I'm not saying no, it's not, but I do think that there's certain people who are like, yo, I work these days. Like, I'm gonna go when I have a day off, or like I have time,
I
or
think
something.
a lot of people just haven't had a chance to go because of those lines. But my point is still that that's the situation they're facing. They're around the corner iPhone release day lines.
Although
on
I
like
do
day
think
7,
that
8.
I do think that closing them off. Now, I don't really am part of this whole legalization thing, but I think that closing it off Monday through Wednesday.
They don't have a choice. It's just.
But it wouldn't be like an actual bad idea. Like
No, but they don't have a choice. They have to. And then they'll open up again 7 days once they can. The website is basically out of shit, too. The Hells Angels biker gang has offered to resupply the government, promising that they don't have a distribution network in place. It's just personal stuff that they've grown through legal licenses or whatever. You know, apparently there are ways to get it legally back in the day. So they have a big supply of legal stuff they have, and they're willing to resupply the government. It's hilarious in a sense. So yeah, that's where we're at.
So
but
we're gonna sell
hold on.
legal weed so we can stop you guys from selling. Hey, I need a favor.
No, but like whatever. They just probably want to go legal because it's better for their life.
Right.
But on top of that, on the same day that they announced that they're closing these stores, the SAQ, which is our alcohol store, which is also a monopoly ran by Quebec, the only place you can buy booze, really, liquor, because you can buy beer and shit at grocery stores, but like liquor, we'll say, and wine, it also went on strike, and you can't go buy alcohol right now. And this is like, man, we're out of weed and booze in Montreal. You know, like the fucking funniest shit is happening here. I'm glad I'm not really a drinker. I don't know. I just wanted to share that with you all and get your thoughts on this situation. And if you had legalization going on in your neighborhood, if it can compare to this or whatever. Somebody from Colorado also talked about how it was a clusterfuck. So it was really cool to hear about that. I'm personally curious just to see, like, relatively speaking, how bad is state-controlled monopoly, can't grow your own weed Quebec doing compared to like your local situation. So yeah, that happened. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it moves on. I don't know if any of you cared about that, but that's how we're going to start the podcast for a bit as we update you about the legalization in Quebec, which has just been a bit of a joke, if you ask me.
It's trash. I'm going to say it's trash.
How did they not realize how this works? It's like, oh, they're going to get the reefer and they'll smoke their little joint and it'll be enough to last.
Perspective. I don't know if it was me and you who had this conversation off camera, but I had this conversation off camera. What if this is like the plan? Like, what if...
Anyway, we're not going to go down that, but I have quick thoughts that, like, maybe they're trying to get, like, illegal dealers to come out the woodworks because we still have to go to the black market if you want to consume the product, and now they can clip them and put them all in jail because they're a competition for the government. That's possible that this is all just manufactured for that purpose, but I just think it's bureaucratic idiocracy. So let's move on. I don't know. I don't know if you have other final thoughts. Because sometimes they say I'm an asshole, and I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be. I just get a little bit hyper. I'm drinking coffee off camera is what's happening, and the caffeine is really starting to kick in. Boop.
I don't have any other thoughts. I think the only thought I do want to reiterate is in terms of maybe wanting to reduce lines, try to control it a little bit better in terms of like selling it or product-wise. Maybe having it open between Thursday to Sunday ain't a bad idea. It kind of helps moderate it a little bit.
It's not about the line control. It's about the supply, though. They just don't have enough product. They're like running out before the store closes.
Look, that's their problem. I'm just saying
that is the problem.
I'm just saying, even when they fix the supply problem, the supply demand problem, it wouldn't. I don't think.
I think it would make lines worse if there was open less days, because then you can only go Thursday through Friday, and then all the people who could go Monday through Wednesday wouldn't be able to go. And if you have it open 7 days, then you just kind of make it more available. It seems like you'd just be worse.
I don't know.
It seems like because they need to just have more people who need to be there during a smaller time frame. Same number of people, smaller time frame of availability. That makes it longer lines, you know? Anyway, that's how I look at it. You can all let us know what you thought. If you guys have experiences with like closing stores, okay, we talked about weed. We've been over this. Why don't we pivot into the album that people actually came here for?
Well, for this week's Headspace album, we went with Mick Jenkins, Pieces of a Man.
Yeah, I did not know who he was. I went to Genius and saw that the album was coming out. I saw his last album featured No Name. We liked No Name. I was like, that's cool. He must be down with like a certain sound. He's from Chicago, and that usually means cool things. So I checked out some of his older stuff, and it was pretty next level as far as sound went. I was like, that's really cool. I don't actually know anything about him. This is like the part of the podcast where we contextualize how well we know the artist, just so that you understand that where we're at coming into it. And I'm not the hugest jazz fan. I'm going to say that. It's grown on me a lot, and I think I'm starting to really appreciate it, but it inherently isn't what I go to in music. So I wanted to throw that in light of the style that he has. But I don't know. So it's kind of cool. It was like I was going in a little bit blind to this album, and I had very little idea what to expect. And yeah, that's what I got to say about that going in. Do you have anything to say?
Not really. I mean, I don't know anything about him. This is the first time I've ever heard the name Mick Jenkins. I enjoyed the No Name album, so I guess I'm kind of going in here maybe having some prejudgments,
That's fair.
pre-assumptions, because, you know, they were kind of on a song. I know what her sounds like. I know what she kind of does off the last album, Room 25. But in terms of just your jazz point, I'm open to all sounds. I prefer rap. I prefer trappier beats, hip-hopier beats, and stuff like that. But like for all types of genre of music, I enjoy the sounds of it. Maybe not like the vocals, maybe not like what their messages are saying or whatnot, whatever comes with that genre. But I like the actual feel and vibe of like the different genres in a sense.
That's fair. I'm not the biggest jazz fan. It's grown on me because so many rappers love jazz and use them in their music. And
Well, it gives you that loungy feel, I find.
It's not just that. I've come to understand why it's an expressive music for what it is, like how emotion translates through it and how much depth there actually is in it. And the more I see that, the more it becomes easier to lounge and vibe to it the way that I think you're supposed to. So I've come to like appreciate it, and I think one day I'll be like, yo, I love jazz. But it's a journey to get there, I think. Anyway, I like the album cover because it's called Pieces of a Man, and then it's just like broken glass, and it's like pieces of his reflection looking back, which is a cool idea visually to reflect what this album is. It's on the ground, so you don't really see a shadow. Like it's such like a nice, like you could do it yourself kind of picture. So it kind of has that relatability to it, but at the same time it really reflects the concepts. Like this album is going to be like pieces of his soul put out for us to listen to and enjoy, and that was really cool. I like that. I like the title. I like the cover. It's something that I think makes me expect a level of creativity, honest, like maybe some intimacy going on. I like that. I was excited when I saw it.
I really enjoy the simplicity in it. I was taking a look, just kind of strolling around Spotify and looking at a lot of the new album covers that are coming out in terms of today's new music and stuff like that. And a lot of them seem to be these cartoony type vibes, these like like these expressive colors, very flashy, very like something so over the top that you remember it, right?
Right.
But I feel like I'm not saying everyone's doing it, but if there's a lot of them coming out like that, I like an album cover like this where it's super simple. I'll remember the broken glass. I might not remember like exactly maybe him looking in his reflection in it or like that, but I'll remember the sand, I'll remember the shadow, I'll remember the broken glass. Like you said, it kind of feels like DIY, do it yourself type, you know, like just
what
very.
I meant by that isn't that it doesn't look like a designer made it look nice. I meant like the picture itself looks like he took it with his phone.
Exactly. Like it looks very authentic in a sense. It's not like it's
cool.
Super over the top. Again, it's very just, oh, that's a cool photo, click, you know, can you hype it up a little bit?
Yeah. Anyway, I like this album cover. I think we've established Chris does too. Why don't we talk about some Heron Flow?
Face-to-face conversation, which can be an easy thing to lose sight of.
So Heron Flow starts off with him kind of doing a little bit of a spoken word poem type piece to a live but small sounding crowd ambiance, kind of like
They were in a lounge or a little bit of like a bar, and he was kind of doing like a dinner and a show,
Yeah.
and he has that jazzy music.
yeah, like that thing.
Yeah.
And he's kind of going on through and he introduces himself. His organization's called the Free Nation. They're basically going to give you some food for thought, some intellectual stuff. And then they kind of like stress the importance of like actual human interaction. Like just I've done podcasts now a couple of times digitally and I do them face to face. And there's a better vibe when you're in a room. So I think they're kind of like stressing the importance of actual interhuman connectedness.
I also fear there's like he's kind of addressing also like, you know, dating apps and like social media and Facebook and Instagram and all this, how like we either fantasize or we imagine like the person that we see on this social media platform is like who they are. And then, you know, come to go on a date or go out to chill or whatever, it turns out like they weren't really what the facade you made them to be in that photo.
Right. And then like it kind of pivots into this dash. Sorry if I said that wrong.
Morse code. And I like how he used the Morse code though when he follows up with
But
the
like
digital.
this is apparently like a big cultural thing that I've never heard of before. I looked it up and it's from some like stand-up comic, I think, kind of going into the code that black folk will use on the phone to avoid detection. And then this kind of was a result of it. That like when I in that skit you hear him says he goes that little bit there and then means damned if I know. So I guess it gets turned into a like I don't really fully understand this, so if I'm wrong I'm sorry, but like in the vein of it's used to be attached to like the bigger, harder philosophical questions that like aren't simple to answer, like
fuck
identity.
if I know in a sense.
Yeah, and so that's just kind of like a code for that, you know, and that is I don't know. I don't really understand its growth, but I think it's an interesting idea from what I briefly saw. I don't want to comment on the culture or piss anyone off. I'm just trying to understand it myself, but it was just brought up here, and then it kind of questions a little bit of black identity and how there are things that the black man that are slipping away from them, and I don't really know what that means personally.
From what I understand, from what I got is that it's like
anyway,
their culture and like the communities, they kind of know something already, and I feel like Mike Jenkins is explaining like Mick Jenkins, my apologies, that he's explaining like shit's kind of changing so quickly that in these communities what they know, like A is A, is starting to change. Like A is now B, and they're like, wait, when did A become B? You know what I'm saying? Like things are very changing rapidly, and they're losing grip on what they used to know.
Which is what
kind of I understand. And then to loop that with the Morse code, the damned if I know, I feel like it's in a way like, bro, shit just keeps changing. Like, fuck if I know what happens tomorrow.
And I guess it's I don't know. I don't want to comment on what that means fully. I just kind of like the intimate vibe that he creates as he's like spitting it. I acknowledge I don't fully understand this track. But then it transitions into this really interesting jazz piece where our featured guest, I believe,
Julian Bell?
Yeah, he starts singing out Pieces of a Man, yeah. But it kind of also sounds like Piece of Man sometimes, so it's an interesting little twist. And I thought that was really nice. I was a little bit like, okay. So I ended up giving this a 4.25. I like what it is, but it's totally not my vibe for me and what I go to listen to. So I try my best to filter that out when I give grades, but I still got to be a little bit true to form. I wouldn't really listen to this so much, but I also think it's a great way to be introduced to Mick Jenkins before going into the rest of the project. And it does do a lot to put me into a space, you know, where I want to actually just sit back and lounge out and be pensive while I listen to it. And I think it accomplishes all of its goals with beautiful mastery of sound. Like the actual use of instruments and all that shit is great. The beat is really alive and interesting. Absolutely. It's just like I mentioned with the jazz bit a bit earlier, a little hard for me to love it, but I really love what he's doing. And it really makes me want to like support him. So 4.25. It's a cool intro.
I agree with everything you just said there. Hear me out though. Imagine you're in this like comfy little chair, you're staring at a stage, and he comes out and gives you this intro to this theatrical experience we're about to get. And the piece of man, or the piece of a man part at the end is like the starting of this like live theater that's about to happen, is kind of what I'm getting from this song. I kind of feel like he's putting us, like you said, in that like mood, that vibe, that he mentions positive vibes, which I wanted to also talk about because it's cool to see that he's on that like positive tip. Like he's trying to show growth and happiness. But I got really excited. I gave this song a 4 because I like what he did. I like the instruments to it. I like the feel to it. But I feel like there's this kind of setup where this is going to be a whole like, again, experience of.
I mean, it's the kind of experience I'm glad I can have from home, right? I would not go to that club and have that dinner experience personally. I like shows where I stand up and there's lots of sweaty people in a mosh pit or whatever, or like if like the Insane Clown Posse sprays you with soda or some shit. I like that kind of vibe, messy, grimy ass shit. I'm not really into. I've never gone to a concert that I sat at. Like that's just where I'm at. So I get the vibe that it is, but I love the idea of being able to have it from home and get a little bit more cultured, etc. Anyway, I don't want to sound stupid. I dig the track. We gave grades. It's a stress and it's fracture and it's a stress fracture.
Cause I look good. I dress good.
Chris, I talked a lot last time. I think it's cool if you start out this one.
I really like his slam poetry type style. I like how there isn't this like cliche type of rapping where everything has to rhyme and stuff like that. I like how he kind of just expresses more. He's more focused on expressing himself and what he wants to say more than he is about the structure of the verse, which is really cool. This song gives me this feeling that he's coping with stress. He's trying to again express himself on how he feels that things are kind of keeping him down. I
feel like, just to touch on that a bit, it's that his inability to be real with people is fundamentally what's keeping him down, right?
Inability to be real or fake?
No, he wants to be real with people.
Right.
But other people want him to be fake around them because people can't handle realness. And that's why he turns back to the cannabis and shit, you know?
Yep.
And I get what he's saying. To me, that sounds like a very valid thing that would make me frustrated.
I like when he goes, I don't got time to figure out how I feel, for real. I don't got a mind to figure out the fake and the real. At all, I don't got dollars to deep in my pockets. And I like how I feel like he's kind of expressing that like he's so busy working. He's so busy trying to chase his own dreams that like he doesn't have time to really think about himself. He doesn't really have time to think about what's going on in his head and whatnot. He just wants to.
But what's really cool is he follows that up with, I still got dimes, they nipping at the back of my heels. That's I'm assuming ladies at that point. Because I still look good, I dress good, smoke good, but I stress a lot. And it's an interesting idea that even though he might not be the richest, he might not be wherever, he walks out with that confidence, he looks fly. As a result, you know, he gets something that's very important. I don't remember where it was recently, but somebody was like, it's not really about the car. It's about the girl that's in the car. That's really what's valuable. For the life of me, can't remember. I saw it on YouTube somewhere recently.
Makes sense, though.
But, like, and that's kind of, I feel like he has that kind of priority, too. Like, you know, it's not really about everybody kind of wants to get money, wealth, and have nice things. But he knows how to, like, I get the sense that he understands what a long-term vision of grind is and how to maximize his success for what he wants while still looking good, being fresh, and not losing himself.
For, like, in a sense, like in terms of like what you were saying with the girl in the car, it's kind of like loyalty. Like if you lose that fancy car, well, she'll still be around. Well, that person still be around.
Like, I was just a little tangential point. I agree with you. I think the point of this track has him being stressed out. But, like, okay, because, like, you can catch me on the wave, no jet ski, ice cold, no Gretzky. I don't got time to figure out whatever. I love that because it's a hockey. In case you didn't know, Wayne Gretzky's one of the greatest of all time in terms of hockey line. He's like the Michael Jordan of hockey. That's a good way to look at it.
Yep.
And it's kind of like he's not really flashy. You get like over the course of the album, you get the sense that he likes to be at home when he's home and hide out and work on his craft and just focus on his grind and his life. And then when he's out on tour and he's grinding and he grinds and he works and he self-improves and shit. And so I look at it from that perspective, but he lets you know he looks good, he dresses good, he takes care of himself, he cares about how you perceive him. He smokes a lot because he stresses a lot, and he just kind of lays in. And that's the start of this project. That's my introduction to him. The verses, I feel like they explore, especially that beautiful one from Mikahl Anthony, explore just kind of like, why should I give a fuck about her feelings? Yeah. My heart's getting cold. A piece of me to you is getting harder. And it's following just kind of his little part where he's like, I'm big on the internet. I don't know what to do. I don't have any friends.
Kind of sounds like he's coping with like the rise up. Like he's starting to become big now, and he's like, whoa, I'm on the internet. I don't really know like what's happening. People are starting to notice me and shit like that.
I'm like, if everyone's fake and they're not really real and you're trying to put your emotions in some shit, how are you supposed to invest that time and energy knowing that they could be fake and like bounce out, and he doesn't know how to cope with it, especially because now that he's starting to get big, I imagine people are changing. Because you don't get the sense that this guy's not doing well. You get the sense that he's starting to do well, and the world is starting to shift. And that's, to me, really honest and really interesting, you know. But I love how he starts the second verse. It's been in my experience that whenever you show yourself for real, you know, motherfuckers like to take advantage. Standing there naked, you panic. From when vantage points don't get expanded, they offer you anecdotes based on the man that you were more than the man that you plan to be. Man, that's an interesting fucking way of looking at it, right? So you start to pop up, you start to go in a certain way, and it's like people want to hold you down and keep you in a world where you were, and they don't necessarily understand your vision or what you're trying to be. But a person on the grind is thinking 10 years in the future. I don't really, like for myself, I don't really consider my life in 32 in a couple of years. No, I'm considering 40. I'm considering 50. I'm considering who I'm going to be. Who I was is almost irrelevant to me. I mean, it's history. I need to learn from it, but it's like if you want to be part of the journey going in a certain way. Maybe I'm just tangenting into my own experience, but like that's kind of what made me think of. And I love how he's like
powerful,
trying to like, you know, I like how he's okay with the, you know, admitting he smokes pot, and how he just does that. He uses that to cope, and things just kind of like feel a certain way.
I like how he's not like glorifying it in like this like criminal sense though. Like, I'm out here smoking weed up on the block. You know what I'm saying? Like he's really just like, use this to cope.
Yeah, like life is complicated, and you know he's trying to like kind of almost give his due respects and pay and like do it almost right is the sense I get, you know. So he's not just another person leeching. He's really whatever. I just like how the last thing you hear is just like, I'm big on the internet, and it just kind of like fades like that. The beat is really well done. You get this sense of live instrumentation. It's really well composed, really beautifully put together. Kind of like in the same vein of like To Pimp a Butterfly in terms of the core sound he's going for on this beat, at least. I give it a 4.25 because it's not my favorite sound, but it's really greatly done, and I do like his style, and I think this is something you should really check out if you are into jazz and whatnot. It's probably going to blow your fucking mind, and that's what's keeping me from loving it like you probably will.
I gave it a 4.3. I really enjoyed it. I like his slam poetry type of flow on this. I like his honesty, his realism that he comes with. I really enjoy the jazzy feel. I really enjoy getting this, like, again, in this lounge type of environment where you're kind of just seeing this unravel in front of you, and it was just great. 4.3.
All right, let's talk about Gwendolyn's Apprehension.
Gwendolyn's Appreciation.
No, it's Gwendolynn. Anyway, whatever. Next track.
You something and this shit's deep. Crib keep, now you fucking with the blockchain. Speed.
I wrote it wrong on my Excel file. Chris was right. It is, in fact, Gwendolyn's Apprehension, for those of you who are halfway through your comment writing right now. The chorus is really cool because it's based off of African-American poet Gwendolyn Brooks' 1959 poem, We Real Cool, which is kind of, her poem really is a lot like the chorus, where it's like, we real cool, we left school, learn late, we seen, we jazz June, we die soon. And it's a little bit of a commentary on cool kid culture and how they do a lot of things to fit in and to look a certain way, and that there are negative consequences to that lifestyle, like early death. So it's kind of reinterpolating that into more of a modern sense where he's kind of looking around, I guess, at his folk and seeing how many people are trying to be cool and what all the metrics are to be cool.
But
and if you look at like a 6ix9ine type guy and what he does to be cool, and you consider how to be a rapper and how to be cool as a rapper, even if you just want to go that route with it and take it in a certain way.
Well, it's funny you brought that up because there is a line where he goes, disagree with the, but they know you real. They gonna see for themselves. No, I told you so. Can't teach the young. He don't want to know. Could be a flower he don't want to grow. And I like how, and I feel like he's talking to some of the. I'm not saying all of the rappers, but I feel like he's talking to the younger generation, the younger rappers, the maybe people in his community around him or whatnot who are dealing with some of these events and some of these circumstances, and they're trying to fit in, they're trying to do some rebellious shit, whatnot, and he's coming at it from like this point of wisdom, like you don't need to be like this. Like if you want to be cool, just be you. Just do what you want to do what you think is right and whatnot, and you'll fall into that cool category for your own lane in a sense, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I just got from that.
I also like how he like starts it with quick, fast, plus one. That's quick math, quicksand, sink slow for some quick cash. I like his little wordplay there, and just looking at how like people are trying to do some quick math, try to scheme a little bit, try to figure out whatever, and the quicksand, the trap of quick cash in the routes that you would go to get it. He's saying then immediately after that, quit that, which kind of keeps the rhyme scheme going. Got a better chance with Bitcoin. Big banks see you stunting, and that shit's deep. Crypt keep, which is in because cryptocurrency and shit.
Yep.
But also like crypt is in the death and the doom type shit, and it keeps now that you're fucking with blockchain. Anyway, the fact that he's even bringing up shit like Bitcoin, which is he's kind of saying like it's a better use of your money to go buy some fucking cryptocurrency and invest in some shit like that than it is to go and try to find that quick money. And in theory, had you been doing the Bitcoin thing, imagine the real quick money you would have got all clean and legal.
Is he saying that it's quicker? It's just risky. It's the same type of risk. I feel like he's...
No, I think he's saying that Bitcoin is a risky behavior,
right,
as we all know, but you have a better chance with Bitcoin in its risky behavior, which is already proven to be risky and bad, than criminal activity.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, I feel like, because I'm interpreting that line as if he's kind of calling out people like everybody's just trying to make quick dollars. Everybody's just trying to find the quickest way to be lit,
yes,
famous, whatever. And you're better, like, you like doing this, you could be doing Bitcoin and still be like safe because it's the same type of roller coaster. Like one minute you're making X amount.
But he literally goes, got a better chance with Bitcoin.
Oh, did he?
He's saying the same principle of what you're saying, only that Bitcoin is technically safer.
No, you're right. I'm not reading it. I wasn't reading it. Probably got a better chance with Bitcoin. That contextualizes.
But then he does the crypt keep, and now you're fucking with the blockchain. Look, all I'm saying is that if you drop in Bitcoin bars, I'm into what you're doing because I learn about that shit. It's super practical and interesting. I also learned that Reggie is bad weed. So
yep.
I brought Loud, you brought Reggie. That's a mismatch. I didn't learn where it's from. So you hip hop head historians out there in the audience, if you can tell me where Reggie originates from, like we learned where Jake's come from because of you guys in the comments. So if you can tell us where Reggie comes from, that would be cool.
I like when he said, "Figure me a whole different from what I was meant to be. A whole different mental it was my stencil. That was incidental. This was before followers. When I was following, wasn't until a bit later when I started flowering and I needed pollination, not your validation."
Right.
That was really serious. I felt like he at one point, I feel like he's expressing that at one point he was trying to be like everyone else. And then when he finally realized that, like, I got to be my own person, he started doing his own thing. And I like how he played off the whole pollination instead of validation, because he's like, instead of basically saying what's good and bad or whatnot, I need you to help me grow. I need you to help me succeed. And you could tell me it's bad. You could tell me my verse is trash, but at least be
like how can you be better?
Criticism.
Or how can
constructive criticism.
Yeah. I agree. I also like when he's like trying to write while they bite. I'm not Holyfield because, you know, Mike Tyson bit his ear and he's not going to stand for that type of shit or biters and stuff. So that was pretty cool. He's clever and he's deep and he's like, it's not superficial shit, you know, because that shit ain't fooling him. I like how this song feels. I like how it's got like this kind of dancey, cool vibe to it, like this really excellent, different kind of beat than we previously heard. I really like this beat. I gave it a 4.5 on 5. I thought it was a great fucking track.
I gave it a 4.3.
That's cool. Let's talk about some soft porn. I guess it's not so much this in soft porn.
Black in the berry, the sweet in the juice.
Soft porn is like the porn where it's a lot more about nudity and sensuality and closeness and nakedness than it is about actual fucking. Like, you won't see penises going into vages. What you'll see is like thrusting, caressing, cutscenes of naked people, titties, and when you're lucky, some bush. Anyway, I amuse myself. I don't care if Chris is giving me like this deadpan look, as you can see, like, what the fuck is he going on about? Anyway, so that's relevant because this song is about like openness and connectedness and nakedness in the sense of naked truth or naked connections with people. So
but I feel like that's
he's
kind of like playing off with the digital world again. Like, I want to talk to you and get to know you instead of.
But it's also,
hi.
but it's more than that even. It's, I don't just want to get to know you. I want to get to know you so deeply and intimately that we may as well be naked together for how close we are.
But you can only do that in terms of face-to-face.
But then
like
also, but deeper than that, that's the kind of truth he's into.
Right.
So it's kind of like a play on both of these ideas at once. But yes, it is about like real connections. I don't know if it's so focused on technology on this one.
Well, what I like from verse 2 was they call, and this is just one of the things that really stood out to me on this song. They call you by your username offline. I usually pay no mind. I just cannot get used to using that shit to define themselves.
But I took that like he's now a celebrity and the relationships he's meeting are more like him as his artist name is now being his in real life and connections. Like, people don't want to use it. I don't know like if that's his actual name. You know what I mean?
I took it as...
I might be wrong there.
I took it as my buddy calling me going, yo, so-and-so is interested in insert rapper name here, who happens to be my buddy who's calling me. And
I think we're kind of going on the same idea here.
But I don't know, because I'm talking, I'm talking.
It's like there are people who know me as HSR, and they call me HSR in real life, and then there are people who know me as Holden. They just, it's a different entire relationship.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's what I think it is. But I guess in that context, I can see where he's talking about himself, because I kind of took it as just like the average, like the general, like, my name is, like, what's your name? It's no longer Chris. Like, my name's Chris Chrome. Why? Because in today's 2018, you are defined by your social media handle.
But it's also how people, like, know you is this superficial thing. Like, what you find on HSR is probably a different series of content than what you find under the life of Holden that happens in real life. So this is... So then if I meet people... all they know is this HSR world, then that's all they know about me, then they're not really real. There's no truth.
But that's what I feel like he's saying. That's what I'm trying to explain. Like, I feel like he's kind of like trying. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just expressing my feels towards it. I feel like, but I think he has a problem with that. I think he literally just has a problem with
I think he's
people hiding behind the username.
I think it's not about a problem with other people and usernames. I think it's talking about everybody and everything in the sense that he's craving realness and real connections. I think the username thing is like a snippet of a bigger picture.
Yes.
And it's more about just using the idea of nakedness and focusing on that and being like naked connections with people. And
like raw honesty.
Yeah, that's why he starts off with like, the like, kind of like referencing how black he is and whatever, but now there's some freedom in that. Like, you don't have to sit in the back anymore. And then I can meet you where you at with the naked truth. So he's going to be coming in with the bluntest honesties. Now, if we tie it back a few songs ago, he's insecure about being real with people because he can't do that because people's fake. And then we think about it, and then he's kind of paraphrasing it like a little bit of a sexualized subject for the sake of like the theme of the song and shit. Like AA, the dirty to me, talk dirty to me with it too. Give me how it takes. Give me proof. Give me a chance to prove that a man improved. I'm gonna say I grew. They're gonna say I pulled a switcheroo, but they is who. And it's kind of like he's trying to hit you with some reality shit, and people are gonna talk about some bullshit. But the truth is the truth, and it kind of flows in from there. But just the tone and the way he delivers it is so interesting. Overall, I really like this song. I think, I love shit like Don't Nobody Want to Smoke With Me, from spoken word to poetry to polarizing social content posted. I got more of the type, and it took off from a spread of advice that that one wouldn't consider nice, that it's all right, it helped me take flight. I used to fall, but floor is so velvety that we had to sig Velveeta stacking nice. You just get the sense that there's this growth happening, how he used to perceive things one way, but he's got all the things. He could play this game, he could do all these things, but he's choosing to go in a wiser and smarter direction. And I love that because it inspires me to be smart, and I like music that inspires me to be smarter. Anyway, then he kind of challenges everyone to be real and shit in the second verse is what I'm feeling. He's challenging you to have that human and real connection with everyone else. I thought it was a really cool song. I love the way he rhymes. I love the way he flows. It gives me something to feel. I like the beat a little bit less than the last one. It's still good, but I give it a 4.25. It's a really cool song. And I think that there are some of you out there who really need to hear this project because you're going to fucking eat up every song.
I preferred the vocals and the message and the concept of the song more than the beat itself. That's why I landed it at a 4. Everything else I agree with.
That's cool. We can talk about how there's Grace and Lamborghini Mercy. I'm sorry, it's Grace and Mercy.
I stay in the sun, need my skin like Hershey's. Yeah. Do everything.
He nearly laughs when he says, have your weapon formed, but that shit can't hurt me. He literally nearly busts into a laugh in the way he delivers this line. And I wanted to start with that because the way he expresses himself is so disciplined and talented, and almost every line has a unique personality. And there are some dudes who have a constant flow. If you look at a Jadakiss, where almost everything is in almost that same voice.
Right.
This is more of I'd say a flavorful approach where you really get to know him almost on a more sincere level. I feel
I can see
thought that was really cool. So I want to point out that when he goes Mercies, I feel like it's how people call Mercedeses or whatever in Rapland, but he literally means mercy here. I think he literally is waking up and thanking God and showing appreciation and humility because that's where he's up. But, like Game of Thrones, he sees Cersei's everywhere and she's kind of conniving. I'm going to throw it out there. Isn't it weird that she sleeps with her brother? Anyway, I stay with the squad, still be smoking Parcy's. That's when you with people, but you don't like to share your weed because you know that it's an economic loss for your fucking life to be generous because of how it makes you look cool. Smoke your Parcy's. Everyone smoke their own Parcy's. Less drama in life. I know that there are people who roll like that. Anyway, comes on, does the next line. I kind of like this. He does a really well grouped verse. There's some great lines playing all the roles. Where the fuck is Eddie Murphy? That made me laugh because he's almost criticizing. I don't actually know what the line means. It just made me think about Eddie Murphy. I'm sorry I brought that up.
There isn't Eddie Murphy play
well, he plays every single role and all that, but I'm about to round it up, monetize the controversy. Bitch, you want to cut with us, playing all the roles. Oh, right. He's kind of pointing out how he can do it all, and I feel dumb now. Let's keep moving. Maybe this is why people keep calling me stupid in the fucking comments.
No. I like this song. I like this song instantly because it had a more of a trappier feel. It had more of this heavy bass and this kind of new modern sound that we're getting a lot. But I feel like this is flexing. I didn't really get much from this track.
Check this kind of flexing. 6-figure quote off a motherfucking keynote presentation. That's a TED Talk. Stay less, let the bread talk. That's the kind of flexing I want to do. Okay, I want to be flexing about how my value and my knowledge is so proper that I can go flex at a fucking TED Talk and take home bread like another rapper would go do at a show. Okay, that's flexing. And then I love the way he just thanks God for the rest of the song with his mercies lines and counts his blessing. And I thought this was really cool. And it's shorter than the other ones, but it comes out really proper. It's almost like a twist on your modern trap song, but about appreciating God. Done with his overall style. So it's almost like he's showing.
Actually, that's not it.
Anyway, I give it a 4.5. I fucking like this shit. as of here, I feel like I start liking the album more and more. And something I've noticed this happens sometimes with stuff like this where jazz isn't like my favorite, where maybe like the first 4 or 5 songs I am getting used to the sound of the album. I don't like them as much, but then by the time tracks like 5 and beyond come in, I'm used to the overall sound of the album by now, so I start appreciating it more. And there's a lot of great there's like a lot of great research around how repetition makes you like music more. So in theory, even if you don't like a song, if you hear it 1,000 times, it's gonna be stuck in your head and you're singing along, even if you don't really like the song.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, what did you give a grade?
I like this song. I think the only problem that I didn't enjoy, I gave it a 4. And normally I feel like I would give this a little bit higher because of like the flow, the style, the way it is. And it's more like my type of sound. Like it's something I would go to. I think my issue with the track is that he's so smart and he's so...
That's for me.
Like he's super smart. You're
fun.
Right. You're right. It's
like
trap music for you.
For geeks.
Because
and knowledge nerds.
I'm not sitting here discrediting anything he did. He is amazing.
When I say for me, what I mean is I love language and poetry. And I like taking the time to like understand the point of the message. And most trap music, I don't think focuses on that. And if I'm not mistaken here, Chris will often bump track to bang out and not necessarily think deep, right? So
pretty much it. Granted, I'm not saying that like I don't appreciate smart trappy beat music type songs. Like I appreciate them, but I think that the problem I had was analyzing this track while trying to bump aimlessly as hard as I wanted to.
It was great
for me.
But that's a cool thing that it gives you both ends of it.
I respect it and I appreciate it. I'm just saying as my own personal opinion.
You're allowed to have your personal opinion. And mine is that imagine we was doing this live in Barcelona.
Niggas took it. Awkward stares like what the fuck you looking at? And that's all over the world.
I feel like he went away to like Spain to go do a show or something. Or is Barcelona in Spain? I think it's in Spain.
Barcelona is somewhere around.
I hope it's in Spain. Anyway.
Ask Google?
No. You can while I'm talking if you want. Feel free. And he goes and does a show. He's offered whatever, less than he's worth, but he decides to go do it anyway. I don't know. That's what I took from that other line. They offer 20. I'm worth more.
It's in Spain.
Book it. Praise God. My position isn't make it or break it. I just wanted to spend a weekend in Spain. It meant it nice. So he's just like, yo, I got this cool opportunity to go to Spain, and maybe I wasn't paid what I was worth, whatever, but I get to go to Spain and do some cool ass shit.
But I like that mentality,
I said
though.
Spain right after. We didn't even need to Google it.
I like how he thinks, though. I like that he's taking every opportunity to give it his 100% effort, show that he's dedicated to the culture, dedicated to hip hop and rapping.
I also feel like he's like, I had this opportunity, right? And then it kind of flows right after that into like, yo, but then I come back and y'all think something weird's up and y'all think something's fishy and y'all think something's not proper.
That's the cool part about it, though. I feel like that's what he's trying to do. Like he's explaining like, hey, I got to travel to Barcelona. I wanted to go to Spain. I took this opportunity that I grinded for to get there. Maybe I didn't make that much money, but I still got to enjoy my experience. But of course, when you're rising up, popping, on the come up, however you want to consider it, when you go to other places and you do these things, when you come back, people who might be jealous of you, you know, they start thinking shit. They start, you know, what did you do in Barcelona? What did you do there? And that could leave you with some really with a lot of stress because you want to come back and express your...
And then, well, I guess it's probably, as you said, it's jealousy. And we can see that with the line like mogul talking business, moving at the pace of a slug. Now, I can tell you one thing. To make podcasts in your apartment isn't that fucking hard to do. Like, it's just not. It's not that expensive to start. Like, you could all literally watching this. If you think you could do better than me, you could do better than me. It's probably true. A couple people, at least one dude watched us, apparently got inspired, and does do better than us. So my point is, on like less equipment, you could do more. And so the idea of people who just talk and don't walk is really pushed here, and he doesn't like those people and whatever. And I like it. It's another short one.
Gotta walk it like you talk it.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's kind of like I feel like he's now understanding how to like take his life and put the pieces into order, and we're going on like this journey as he's adapting to like this new phase of life while dealing with actual people and stuff.
Which I like those. I like the again realness in it. Because a lot of the times, and I guess this is just the selective music I listen to, it's a lot of the flexing of already being famous and already popping off and being the best and blah, blah, blah. I like hearing, you know, about the journey. I like hearing about you whatever, sitting down on this bench thinking about like, wow, I'm about to blow the fuck up right now, but I don't know what to do with my life and this and this. Like to be able to connect on that level is cool.
Yeah. That's why you should diversify your musical listening portfolio.
I should.
Anyway, I give this a 4.75. I thought it was one of the best pieces on the album. I really liked the overall feel of it. I'm kind of sad it's a bit short. The outro's a bit whatever, not my favorite, and that's why it's not a 5. But like, it's cool. It's a really good song.
Gave it a 4. I'm starting to realize that I might not be the target demographic for this album. I also starting to realize that I might not be as smart as I think I am for this album to understand a lot of it.
Well, it's not that smart.
I'm not saying that it's that smart, but I do think that there are certain experiences that I haven't had or I haven't like encountered to understand a lot from where he's coming from, but I do enjoy how he is able to express it in a way that I can understand it. Like that is where I find that it's really just cool.
Anyway, so let's talk about the Parcy Interlude.
Hey, you gonna pass that?
So somebody's smoking a doob, and then somebody's telling a story about how the next guy had the balls to ask to puff on somebody's little skinny Parcy joint, and he knew it was a Parcy joint, and the guy said no, and then he chimed in and said, it's all personal, and then it kind of ends, and I bet that's a real story that happens to people. It doesn't happen to me. I don't really know. I don't really have a lot of feelings on this. I feel like, can you guys explain what the point of this is in the greater scheme of things? I don't. Maybe you have an explanation. I'm gonna say I give it a 4 because it made me chuckle for a half minute, and then the second time I listened to it, I was like, oof, I don't know that I want to listen to this every time through. But I have been called a skit hater in the past, so that's possibly true.
Mick Jenkins seems to be somebody who likes to be to himself, kind of control his own shit, do what he has to do. So him emphasizing the fact that he smokes Parcy's is not that surprising to me a little bit. Like, it's something that means something to him. He enjoys smoking weed, as we found out already. I think that it's also kind of like enforcing this, like, I work for my weed. I work hard for it. I put in the time and the effort to be able to pay for it. I shouldn't have to share it just to feel cool. I shouldn't have to, you know, have you, like, if you can't afford it, too fucking bad for you, in a sense. Like, who am I to have to share or whatnot is kind of what I'm getting from him in a sense. But I think it's more just like a pride thing. Okay. I think it's just like,
whatever, that's fine.
You know? But I did give it a 3. I didn't see much use in having this here. I understand it.
Okay, that's cool. So the SQDC is apparently serving up some Reginald at 245 Canadian per 30 grams because it's no longer ounces in Canada. It's 30 grams. All right, let's talk about Reginald.
My vices exonerated emotions, and then I'm coping, Macaulay coke, and I'm trapping my.
I really dig the beat and the smoothness on this. I feel like the album at this point, the music is just more solid. That's just my thoughts. But this one's cool. It's kind of like coming at people jealous of him, and he's kind of expressing again that he's putting his work in. He's focusing and grinding for real. And even from the beginning, he's trying to be healthier. The feeling like that these days my skin is much clearer, my woman's skin is much clearer. Of course, I'm drinking my water. And apparently, he's like legitimately discussing drinking like crazy amounts of water because apparently we're supposed to be drinking like crazy like 4 liters a day or some shit, and that 2 liters a day is like a minimum, not the recommended amount. And the more water you drink, the better your skin actually is. I digress. So he starts us out there, and then he comes in and has cool lines like, I'm more of a complication of compositions. It's complicated. I'm contemplated so many perspectives, accommodated my vice, exonerated emotions, and I'm coping Macaulay Culkin. I'm trapping my demos over Bohemian Rhapsody. First of all, I never heard Home Alone lines like that before. I never heard I've heard people rap over Bohemian Rhapsody, but you get like this sense of like this wider sphere of culture and influence in his life. Like he's just got like all this shit going on. But you also, it's just the alliteration or the overuse of the C, the compilations, compositions, complicated. It's just fucking great language.
His syllable play is crazy.
And it's got this amazing and beautiful fucking flow. I love how he's like casually giving no fucks about your 2 cents. Because he doesn't care about what you have to say because it's fucking pointless. And then we go and clip the loose ends, we go and clip the split ends, and we go and split ends, and we go and burn the nooses. I kind of like, clipping like a cigar or whatever, but at the same time cutting people out of your life. It's fucking good. This fucking track is really nice. And it just flows on like that. The second verse kind of follows suit. And overall, I really enjoyed listening to this. I really enjoyed his flow on this track. Ben Hixon sounds really great as well. And 4.5. I don't want to be redundant. There's not much more I can add to it that I haven't said on previous tracks. The overall subject matter seems to be kind of fluid. Like a lot of it seems to be coping with being real in a fake world. Now, for myself, I can't get enough of this subject. So this is good for me.
I didn't like the beat on this.
What?
I didn't. It was slow. It was slower paced, which I respect and I can appreciate it, but it's just not my thing.
That's your prerogative.
I didn't quite understand the song either, which is something that I think having heavily dense tracks like this, like a lot of heavily dense informational tracks and like...
Let's just look at the hook then. Don't you get to counting up another dough. So that means just because I have money going on in my life, don't assume that you're going to get a job or I'm going to employ you or I'm going to hook you up or it's not your money. Don't count my money like it's your money.
Just kind of took it as don't focus on somebody else's grind, focus on yourself, and don't be smoking bad weed, smoke good weed because Reggie is not good.
Right, but even just think about what you said. Don't focus on me and mine's, focus on you and yours.
No, and I did get that.
And then don't call me a hater just because I wasn't fucking with the flow.
Absolutely.
So you got to picture it. I come into you and I'm like, yo, Mick, you're so cool, man, but you got to check out my demo, dog. Yo, check out my demo. And then he puts it in and he's like, man, it's whatever. And I'm like, you know what, dog? You a fucking hater, okay? You a fucking hater. That's what you are. You got all this money. And that's how I picture the conversation going.
And I'm glad you did that because I also had a theory in terms of the word hater that's just a... Is it oversaturated? Can I say that?
No, but I think
the word itself, I feel, is just used so much and it's not even fucking useful anymore.
Well, I feel like it's used incorrectly. You're not being a hater for expressing your preference about something if your preference is based on something real, such as if you're a professional rapper and you don't like what someone else is doing, it's not necessarily being a hater for not loving everything that this other person's producing. On the other hand, if you're talking shit about Lil Wayne at a party when you're 22 because you're talking shit because you don't know shit about Lil Wayne, you're being a hater. That was a younger me I'm talking about, just to show the difference. I digress. So I took it like that from the chorus. So even from that, and then he kind of elaborates in that more complicated way he does in the verses, just to maybe just help shed some light on how I got to my conclusions with it. And then you're right, don't smoke bad weed, but also take that a step further. Don't do bad quality shit for your life. If you're going to go in, make sure you put the time and effort in to perfect your craft and do it properly.
Absolutely. I like when he said connections will get you brought up in conversation. You basing everything you know about me from moments. I'm more complicated of compositions. It's complicated.
Right.
Compilations of compositions is complicated. I like the syllable play there. I know he already
also
read it
like
off.
Even just on the message point, it's interesting. He's right because don't assume that you can be part of my squad because you go see some shit happening up on the Twitter and the mentions, and I'm a lot more complicated than my public persona is going to be. Which, if we touch back to the idea of the screen name and the username in real life versus the more complicated version of real life connections, it all really kind of connects, and I like that congruency that he has going on throughout this album and this project, making it really feel a lot more complete.
I do like the first line though when he went connections will get you brought up in conversation. It's like he's still struggling with fake people. He's still struggling with who he can trust and whatnot because the more he has to network and connect with people, the more he's being spoken about. And I think that he's paranoid of like what people are saying.
But it's also you have to do it, and it's the only way to get brought up.
Yeah. I gave it a 3.8. I mean, it wasn't a bad track. It's just not something I enjoyed.
But the next one has introducing the Ghostface Killah. Okay, it's padded vlog stuff.
Gravy looking crazy on the internet. Niggas dirty dancing, no Patrick Swayze lover don't.
I gotta just say before Chris talks shit about this track.
I'm not gonna talk shit. Yeah,
It took me a quick second, but once I realized what he's saying, finger spasm make a think to semi-fully automatic. It's because he's clicking so fucking fast with his spazzing finger that it may as well be an automatic. It didn't click, but when it did, I felt like I'm getting it. I'm feel deeper connections to shit. Anyway, Chris, how do you feel about this track?
They both rap very well. I was excited to hear Ghostface Killah. It was cool. It was great. But what the fuck are they saying? That's my only thing. Hey, like I said earlier, I might not be as smart to understand some of these references or some of these metaphors or some of these explanations, but I listened to this track at least like 6 times, and I just don't understand.
Okay, so
hold on. I just don't quite get what like they're talking about. My other thing too is, does Ghostface have a problem with Cardi B and Offset? Is that a thing?
I genuinely think that was a pun.
Oh.
I don't think it was at all deeper than that.
Well, we'll see later on in another track. But
even on that, I think it was puns. Because if you're making Cardi, anyway, that one I don't think was dissing Cardi B later on the album either. This one was definitely to me because he's saying Offset and then he says Cardi B and it's a pun.
Well, I'll off your set, go ask Cardi. And I'm just like, I
saying,
can get the pun.
So I'll off your set because I'll kill all your people.
Yeah.
You want to see the proof? Go ask Cardi. Not in like, I'll take out Cardi. Maybe it is, but I took it more like Cardi and me is tight. So you can ask her like, how Eminem brings up Trick.
But he's a bitch.
Okay, sure. Anyway, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think. I didn't really get the track.
Plus, Offset and Cardi are dating. They're linked. It's not
I understand that. I just don't understand the song. If they're flexing and they're telling people not to fuck with them, I get that.
It's the same shit. It's don't be fake. We is real.
Oh.
It's the same shit. I'm not trying to be whatever.
I gave it a 3.5, honestly.
So, gotta have it. Please excuse the water bottle habit. Now, considering for him that he drinks all the water, maybe he's not getting fucked up or whatever. So, it's just different. Fuck through dramatics. We get through them locks when they padded. Gotta have it. Sorry, I never had it. Gotta get the free. Gotta have it. So, what I get the sense here is that they're trying to break free of industry bullshit and label dramatics and all the fucking the dog and pony show of Instagrams and like challenging motherfuckers to test your gangsta and shit like that. And instead, they're looking for freedom and realness. Now, we know about Ghostface. We know he is a real person. He doesn't have to rely on gimmicks because he's just a fucking artist, and they have that in common, I think. So this is kind of exploring the idea of breaking free of dramatic bullshit and just spitting real and being proper and whatnot. Okay. And so the chorus is a bit long.
I can appreciate that.
The chorus is a bit long, and I like how I like how it all flows out in the verses too. I don't want to like just quote it all, and there's nothing overly significant that I thought was super great for me in terms of Mick Jenkins' part outside of the chorus. In terms of Ghostface, I do want to point out that he did take the time to go, fuck the rulers, Donald Trump is a piece of shit, I got 36 chambers, hollow tip in a clip. And I want to know if that is going to be taken by a threat by the Secret Service and they now have to worry about Donald Trump showing up to say what's up. Because Agent Orange and shit.
I was just thinking that because he confronted Eminem about it. I want to know if he confronts Ghostface now.
I also like, he's like, ayo, these mad thirsty for the fame and glory, uses basic as a baby daddy on Maury. I love that line. It made me think about that episode of How I Met Your Mother where Maury's just everywhere in New York and they keep running into him. B, it's true. Sometimes it's fun to just throw on some Maury and watch baby daddy drama. Like, I know it's stupid, but it's literally the same episode every time, and that's kind of what makes it fun. It's pretty basic. I like this song in terms of what it is.
If you're the father or not.
It's got a good flow to it. I thought it was really great rhyming. I gave it a 4.5 because I do think the chorus is a bit long. It's not my favorite, but it's still great and well made, and I do like it more than the ones I gave 4.25 to. Anyway.
I just want to say before we cut to the next track, I don't mean to sound like I'm disgusted by the track. Like, I'm not trying to offend them or anything.
Disgusted.
I'm just, for me.
Everyone thought Ghostface is going to show up in Montreal and kick our asses now. Although, if Ghostface did watch this and got offended and made like a 6-minute video talking shit, I'd be so flattered.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of all the ghosts, there's no Face or Killah here. It's just Ghost. It's
I'm low key, but to clarify, really just be more focused on me. You can verify these.
I mean, this one is again following suit with that. I stay on my grind. I stay super focused. When I'm home, I'm home. I got my relationships. I got my craft. I got my business. I have to work on that. I'm not going out. I'm not having fun. You don't see me. I'm Ghost.
Hold on. I dig my personal space.
Yeah.
I love that. I love how he's super honest with that. How he can be alone and be comfortable. That was straight to me. That was straight strong.
Put the flower in the paper, put the earth to my face. I love how... Anyway, but I do like how he just immediately follows that up, because you just picture him rolling up a spliff in his room, in his personal space, zoning out in this natural way, ready to, like, do whatever. I mean, his lady's there with him, you know? And it's showing, like, real growing, like, shit, but honesty within himself for how he lives his life and shit.
I like when he and then a couple lines after that, he goes, but to clarify, I really just been more focused on me. And that's like a true statement. Like that's something that really just kind of hit me in the face, where it's like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not trying to be, and I'm talking for what I interpret from Mick Jenkins here. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not trying to be this, but y'all have to understand that I'm focused on what I'm doing. I'm on my lane, my grind, my Parcy, and I'm doing what I got to do.
Exactly. And other people might go, I hate, but then he has shit like at the end of the verse when he goes, all that hate just found a bigger flame. I'm simply saying when I'm sane, I go super saiyan. I supersede all of them who go with the grain. Mm-hmm. That's why you never see me in that lane. And I appreciate that, because I feel like in 2018, it's the perfect time of life to not worry about maybe blowing up in mainstream light with labels and shit. But if you can find like 100,000 people on the internet that want to give you some support and give you $5 a month, that's $500,000 a month that you made without a label. Obviously, that's some fucking unrealistic shit. But what if you could? What if you could find 50,000 people that give you $5 a month on the internet without a label? You know, like there's ways to just be pure and be yourself and pursue shit. Anyway, that's just ideas that I'm throwing out. Kind of what made me think of. I feel like the second verse follows through and he does the same kind of thing with it. But I do like his fuck is a conscience. If you woke but you still in bed, a lot of y'all realities is only in your head, and you bring that shit to me and you expect agreeance. I'm disagreeing with your take on all this shit instead, but I don't be trying to do the most, so I digress. I take it down, I fade to black, and get on with this. I think it's an interesting point, because a lot of people will come up to you with their stuff, and when you start doing things like educating and grinding and focusing and whatever, a lot of pipe dreams and bullshit is what you're going to hear. But instead of worrying about arguing with you and crap, he's just going to fade out, go back to his own little world, and just focus on him. And I really love that, because I kind of really relate to it. I don't know. This is a cool song. I gave it a 4.5 on 5. Great beat, great sound, great everything. I'm really digging this shit.
As per verse 2, I like when he went, I hate the fake in my heart when break on a serial basis. And I like that type of realness where he's not. I have two theories. One, he hates getting his heart broken. He hates being in situations where he feels empty, because he has to kind of be fake and not really be angry or whatnot around people in public or whatnot. The other is, I feel like maybe he doesn't know how to deal with situations when somebody comes to him and says, like, you know, such and such broke up with me, this happened, or love loss or something like that. I feel
like as we've learned anything on this album, it's that people don't appreciate his honesty, so he doesn't know if he's supposed to be. Well, I think it's that he is truthful, and as a result, it's not worked out for him, so now he doesn't even want to fucking talk, you know?
Perfect. And the other one is, I feel the weight of landing helicopters just to get up here and find out they read teleprompters. And that was cool, because it's you spent your entire time chasing this dream, blah, 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 speaking your mind, doing what you got to do, to then really find out that the whatever celebrity, famous person, blah, 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 is reading off of something scripted that was designed and created by someone else. It's like he's still in the world that he chooses to be in. There's still fakeness, and his creative way of expressing that is just cool. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.
All right, let's talk about part 2 of the Heron Flow series.
I don't see no ladder, but they keep telling us to climb out.
It follows on with the idea of the end of the first song. This is some sick shit. The man has lost his mind almost but as quick as he found it, and it's dark in there in his mind. He done ask himself questions to which no answer be. Damned if he know, damned if he don't, find out, etc., etc. Well, dash. And, you know, kind of rolls through that. So it's just kind of contextualizing a bit some of the parts that like in this world, you get some realities and you start to you get maybe more ability to be conscious than ever before, but instead of being able to answer the questions, we're just kind of stuck with, well, fuck if I know, and then kind of end it like that. I think it's maybe satirically commenting on how many people approach reality, and it's trying to give you food for thought to like question it, and then it breaks into like this super nice sounding jazz thing, instrumental for a while. I get why those of you that like jazz are gonna love it. I give it a 4.1. It's not really for me. I would skip it as soon as he's done talking every single time for me.
I really enjoyed the jazz part. I gave this a 4 on 5. But I think that first off, now that we're here, let's take it back to the beginning. This is the intermission of the theatrical show.
Right.
I feel like here's the part where things are gonna start changing now. When he first starts off on this this skit or whatever, this interlude, there is like funny, ain't it? Sick shit, ain't it? Like man found his mind and then lost it right at the same time, and it's like, well, isn't that what we just kind of went through in terms of the last couple of tracks that we just got in this? Right? Like he found some things, he kind of went crazy. I feel like he's actually contextualizing the first part of the album, and now the rest of the album is going to be something different, because then after he's done speaking, you have this beautiful jazz, I want to say symphony, but I'm making it bigger than it is.
It even kind of maybe makes a bit of sense considering what the next song's about and shit.
And I feel like the jazz part kind of gives you this different tone, this uplifting type of evolutionizing, changing in a sense. Like we're coming to a newer point. We've done a 360 in a way, somewhere like that. I am running out of ways to say change.
That's cool.
But that's kind of what I got from this. So I gave it a 4 because I think that part of the album, it fits. But I do agree, I don't think I would be listening to this if it was on shuffle or something.
All right, let's talk about some plain clothes. I like plain clothes.
Highest level for these fucking plain rides. Never plain clothes, I just can't.
Unless I'm mistaken, this song is like an appreciation to higher end fashion and like looking nice and how that attracts ladies and how he got blunts in the Uber and he likes it and it's almost like a chiller, vibier, less serious song, but literally is about like he hides in plain sight by dressing really well and being proper, and not drawing attention to himself. It's kind of how I took it. But really, it's like he just never wears plain clothes, so it is kind of flossy. And I didn't really like this one as much. I mean, whoa. I don't really see the huge love in it. I don't know. It just seemed like, okay, it was fine. He looks nice. He enjoys his world. It's got a good vibe to it. I suppose my interest in the subject matter went down, but also it's a little bit on that airier kind of light, like whatever. The beat didn't really suck me in. The subject didn't really suck me in.
Well, the subject matter I feel is the same. He's confused, he's lost, he's dealing with complication stuff, but what I want to touch upon...
At least he dresses nice.
But what I want to touch upon is he states, I'm hiding out here in plain clothes. I'm hiding out here in plain sight. And I feel like he's acknowledging that...
He doesn't say he's hiding out there in plain clothes. He says he's hiding out there in plain sight. I've been getting
That's
high.
the line.
Hell, before these fucking plane rides, never plain clothes, never plain clothes. So what I feel like he's saying is like by wearing like a suit, by wearing like really nice shit, I get to hide in plain sight. Whereas you, by wearing your loud and whatever, you actually attract attention to yourself. I kind of took that vibe from it.
I see that. I'm saying that it's the other way around. I'm saying that he's literally in the middle of paparazzi, but they're seeing Mick Jenkins, the artist. with the fashion and the clothes, but they're not seeing him because he always wants that naked, raw truth connection. So his strive for that naked, raw truth connection allows him to be hiding in plain sight in these plain clothes that he considers plain, whatever, if it's Barney's New York fucking luxury clothes, if it's this, if it's rich, lavish life, whatever. He feels like he's still not getting that connection of who he is inside, his raw, authentic human connection. And he's kind of just living his life lavishly while he's trying to cope with, how do I do this without...
I don't know, man. This song just seems to be a little bit more about how I dress nice so I get girls, and the Uber driver was chill and let me smoke the blunt in it, so I give him 5 stars, and like, I'm not getting all of that from this one personally.
I
think this one was like taking a break from a lot of the deeper shit and was like a lighter, chiller song for them. Because if you think about it, if the interlude changes the tone of the album, this is definitely a tone shift. Now we're famous. Now these are the questions you have when you dress nice and shit. I don't know.
Well, I mean, is it so hard to...
I gave it a 4.1. A 4. I give it a 4. That's what I said. I apologize. It's okay. Like, it's as good and well made as a lot of the other songs. I just, stylistically, I'm not as interested in it. You can like it as much as you want.
I gave it a 4.
Okay. So, instead of going in circles on
let's
this...
just pull up.
Pull up.
We can drink, let you hold some.
All right, Chris, how do you feel about Pull Up?
I enjoyed it. I like the wordplay that he did with the word pull up. If y'all are willing to fuck with him, then pull up, because he's been ready since pull ups. I like that. He's been ready since he's a kid.
Now he's got the pull ups.
There you go, because he's got his head up to the sky and he's looking for bigger things. I feel like the beat gives me this type of reminiscing feel. That he's kind of like the first verse, he's kind of like thinking back about how his like kind of come up was, his struggle and whatnot. Wasn't really much for me. I didn't really get much from the first verse, but I do like when he goes, I think this is in the second verse, he goes, I'll be up before the sun can rise. Some people wonder why. Biggest here still hustle like he undersized. And I like how he's kind of just contextualizing the fact that I might be the biggest dude, but I know where I stand. I know where my position is, and I know that I need to make different sacrifices and efforts to make sure that I can be the biggest dude.
I like it a little bit different too. So many people get there and then stop grinding proper. Like, you grind, and because you grinded, you acquire wealth. And then you get wealth and you get low-fee, and then the next thing you know, you're like working at McDonald's or some shit when you're in your 30s because you didn't keep grinding. Whereas he's kind of saying that regardless of what happens, I'm still putting in that hustle, I'm still putting in that work and shit. And I like that because it's cool. That kind of a guy turns into super wealthy. Anyway, on top of that, I feel like this song kind of follows, it's almost, I feel like it was maybe talking about particular people from his past that are claiming that because he went away, maybe he wasn't answering them and he's not giving attention to them, etc. But like, they feel a certain way about him. He's almost taking a chance to respond here. It's like, we burned the sage. If we fight too long, we ain't talked in weeks. You ain't answer my text. I was overseas, young, trying to stay alive. You want to smoke a tray 5. You already know we stay high. We trying to find them de la soul, chop, soul food, not cold, because it's going to be different when you're hungry. Get it? And I need enough to split it. So he's trying to, like, point out at this that, like, we do all these things, the kinds of people we are, but at the end of the day, I can't just get my like money and instantly hook everybody up in the hood and shit. I need to make enough to be able to split it. And I think that's a common misconception people have. Like, if you make $1 million, you can't afford to put people on. Like, it's just not realistic. You can't pay salaries on $1 million. You'll lose your fucking money so quickly. It takes, maybe you can pay a couple salaries on $1 million, but you can't realistically pay salaries on $1 million if you don't have another $1 million coming. So you have to like actually lock down your business and make sure you have growth in place before you can worry about like spending serious money. Maybe I'm wrong about salaries on $1 million. I've never had $1 million to talk about that before. All I'm trying to say is that people look at a certain thing and try to understand business a certain way. And the proof in the pudding is how people look at charity distribution of wealth. Like, all these people working at not-for-profits aren't supposed to make at least $35K to go home and feed their fucking families. I take a lot of shit like that. There's probably hundreds of people who are employed to go work at, say, the fucking charity that you're talking shit about with a pie chart. And
Right.
maybe their CEO makes $250,000 a year or some shit, and you're like, well, what? He's supposed to go work 80 hours a week to not make money? Like, yeah, it's just fucking weird how people don't understand life. They feel a certain way at top level metrics, and people don't like to research. I got a whole bunch of, like, that's the overall feel I have of this. And, like, it just kind of flows on through into second things. Like, ain't no time to point fingers, less in direction to truth. You find this shit is connected to lies like suits and ties. Shit changed when everybody know that you're the guy. Seen too many relationships get euthanized. And I feel like it's a really heavy topic on him that people, like, aren't willing to put into work in the ground with him, but instead are willing to burn bridges. And, like... But it's kind of like a general theme. I feel like in most songs, he keeps coming back to this. Like, it's so heavy on him. And I kind of can relate to that a little bit. I don't have a lot of friends in my life. People don't want to work 30 hours, 40 hours on top of their job. You know, like, people don't want to put in that effort. They want to play Fortnite. That's important to a lot of people, and I respect that. You know, everyone's allowed to live the life the way that you want. But if you do live your life that way, you can't complain. If you want to complain, you have to do certain things. Just like if you don't vote in the election, how are you going to complain about the president? You know?
Makes sense.
That's all I'm trying to say. I'm that kind of guy. I like this song. I gave it a 4.5. I thought it was a great beat, really fun to listen to, really awesome.
I gave it a 4.2. I enjoyed the song. I enjoyed the vibe to it. I enjoyed the energy that it came with. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some Consensual Seduction.
I oblige. I don't do the Obi-Wan. Never had the force facts, the vibe in the room.
This is literally what the song's about, Consensual Seduction. And I think it's a really important song for anybody to write right now in terms of shit that could be, because it is a way of approaching a subject. Stuff like, I ain't got intentions beyond what you mentioned. What you want from me. I can see little inclinations, look like imitations. More low-key with my natural nature. I will be all on that in like 3 seconds. Flat out patient. No, don't patronize me. I find need clarity. I mean, unspoken understandings are indeed rarities. I need you to say it out loud. Then it's Marco Polo and I'm on your way. And in this day and age, I think it's kind of important. He's trying to point out, like, like, even though you might be shy and you might be giving me little signs and stuff, no, I'm not playing up on the innuendo. We don't have a real connection here. That's a guess. Maybe I'm wrong and shit. I need you to just fucking say it. You know, I'm waiting for you to say it and whatever.
But I like...
You have to, like, put it out. You need to give me consent. And the second you do, I'm all up in that shit. And then in the second verse is with Connie Bailey Ray, who I honestly haven't heard of before now.
I love her voice, though.
And then she kind of, like, talks about how sometimes her feelings are going to be fickle and weird and changing and stuff. But, like, when it does happen in those moments where it's okay, like, you really need to appreciate it but be understanding of it. And then there's that little outro bit where it changes again, and it's just kind of like it's hard because when people post these stories in a one-sided fashion, like places like TMZ do, if you look at your own past life and you consider the one-sided version of any like incident in your world where it got kind of weird,
yep,
it makes you really consider shit that now these are the ground rules for what consensual intercourse is going to be like moving forward. And instead of arguing like, oh, that's fucking terrible, it's like, no, men now need to ask for consent, but at the same time, women need to say, yeah, it's cool. You can't just expect men to make a move because you looked at them a whole bunch of times anymore, because that isn't really conducive to consent. Consent needs to be expressed. And I like the idea of what he's trying to do with the song. But it still comes off kind of a little bit like a love song. It's not my favorite kind of song. It's a little bit slower and whatever. 4.15. I like the idea of this song. And I really think that it's an inspiring song. And more songs need to be written on how to approach these types of subjects. So I'm really cool. And I'm really cool with how he's approaching these topics. Like, I don't think I've ever heard this subject really approached so like this before. So fitting for this era, you know? Anyway, go on.
I like how honest she was. I like that there was this. Granted, granted, Mick Jenkins did a really great job in terms of like expressing how he wanted to be told what he could and could not do. He wanted clarification. He wanted to be. I like how he asked not to be patronized to be clarified as well. I like that line. I like how he was like, don't act like this is. Don't act like this is something weird that I want to know if I can do this to you. You should be feeling somewhat like respected that I'm asking you, that I'm being this type of awkwardness with you, because I want to make sure that I'm not crossing lines. But I really enjoyed her part more because you really get this sense of like not understanding what you feel in that moment.
Right.
You get that sense that, I mean, again, I can't say it, right? Like, I'm not the girl. I don't know what the girl's going through on the other side of that couch. But you do get that sense of, like, fear. Do I give consent? Do I not?
And you get the sense that you might change your mind.
Yeah.
And that's part of this process for her.
But I like how she did that, though. Like, I like how you get the sense where if she were to change her mind, Mick wouldn't kind of react badly.
Right.
You know, like the whole like, as much as they don't have a connection, there is that like individual human connection that's there. Like, you need to respect me as a woman and you need to respect me as a man of the way that it is.
It's a great template for like how it goes on with that outro, kind of justifying why I felt the need to write this song even.
I mean, especially even, and this is just kind of where my brain went, especially in today's age where it's like you kind of hook up on dating apps and shit like that nowadays. It's like
it's so easy to cross the line.
Right? You cross that line verbally, but then when it comes to meeting up, it's like you don't really know who this person is. And anyway, it's a whole other conversation. But the gist of it is,
well, there's a lot of risks in that world, but here's just a template on how to approach all situations moving forward, is I think what he's trying to establish here.
Yep, it was really great. I gave it a 4.2.
And then there's no reason to do a U-turn.
Yo. It is classic shit. Press repeat.
All right, I like this beat a lot. I'm going to start off with that. It's like improvements in my opinion. But I did find myself vibing to this song more than I was caring about what the song is about.
Yep.
I do like Ghost Star Trek like Spot because I'm logical. It must always be said that Star Trek puns and lines are going to go over well with me. It kind of got to saying that like he's trying to let everyone know that he's coming in, he's doing what he's got to do, and that it's all business and nothing personal if he decides that like he's going to do a U-turn or flip up or things change or whatever. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's the overall sentiment I got from this track.
Well, the fact that he's referencing pistol whip, the fact that he kind of has like a little bit of like not a violent tendency, but there's some like violent talk here. I feel like he's a little bit like, don't fuck with me. Like, I'm not afraid to make a U-turn and, you know, drive by or whatever the case is. But my problem with this track is exactly what you said. I felt myself more vibing to it than really giving a shit about what he said.
But
like,
I don't know why that's a problem. It's not a problem.
Well, I feel like it's a problem for like me though, because I want to like.
You basically don't care what a Calvin Harris song has to say. It's like vibing.
But I won't listen to a Calvin Harris song.
But like I'm just saying, it's not like a problem for a song to vibe so.
Maybe not for anyone else. I'm just saying for me to enjoy it, I kind of want to care about what you're saying, and if I don't, whatever. I guess I just don't. Overall, I did give it a 3.6.
I don't understand that personally. Like, I mean, to me, the music is done well. The mixing is done well. Well, the lyrics, I'm not 100% sold on. It's not even terrible. Like, my Cardi B, see him taking off, like, braces off. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
No, Cardi B and Takeoff.
I don't think that's actually what it was. I thought it was about the teeth. Because I think that line was referencing how he's now fixing up his life the way that she fixed up her teeth.
Oh.
That's how I took that.
I just found it weird because Takeoff is one of the Migos, so I was just like...
Because we had mentioned that. Maybe. I don't fucking think it was that deep. I don't know. I'm not saying that there's a whole bunch in this track that I thought was great. Not like that it wasn't great. I'm saying it wrong. But like that stood out to me. Like stuff like they never fuck with the real you. I pull up on this pony. Then they go acting phony. Please do not force my hand. We ain't really homies. It just feels like an extension of a lot of the same ideas we have talked about on this album. So thematically, It didn't stick to me. But it's still a great track in terms of the vibe. I give it a 4.25. I thought it was really fun to listen to. Like, it wasn't like a bad song for me just because I didn't care as much about the overall theme. I feel like he flows really well over it and his voice suits it really nicely. Anyway, I guess you can say in this case, he was maybe not understood, but understood.
Through they teeth, try to talk money, it's on the tip of they tongue. You know the feeling when
I feel like it just keeps getting better at this point in the album. I like Understood even more. That's a great beat. The rhyming is really fucking solid. It's kind of like he has success, he keeps it real, and people like know it and recognize it. And he gets his validation from like the OGs, not just like trying to be cool or anything. And we see that expressed just at the very beginning, you know. A pulling up, puffing on Indo, Chevy sitting on the Renzos, old head hit me with a head nod, understood like tenfo. And he just got like the sense that he like comes in and like the real motherfuckers know he's a real motherfucker and are accepting him into the club. And as a result of this, we get some really great like lines like deep conversation about language, which one you speak, claim bilingual, lie through their teeth, try to talk money, it's on the tip of their tongue. You know, the feeling when the words just outside your reach, yeah. So when he goes bilingual here, I get the sense he's talking about not just English, being able to speak business, being able to actually have a proper conversation about growth and shit. And he's pointing out that many people talk like they're going to actually go and do some shit, but they really aren't as bilingual as they appear. I understand what he means. And he flows on from there, and it's the same kind of thing, you know. So many different vernacular perspective and points went from selecting electives to collecting the coins and rejecting investments to connecting with legends and stressing acceptance to fuck it all right with my left and I'm finessing this joint. So his transition from caring about what people think, as we touched again on earlier, to being real and focusing on getting the approval of like people who it really counts, like actually focusing on real influence. Overall, I really dig this track. I really dig the overall flow. The second verse follows on suit. I like his Duke Nukem, yo, you can Uber and just let it be line because it's just fucking funny. But like overall, it's a great vibe. The music video is pretty cool. I actually don't know if there were other music videos on this project. I just watched this one and you just see him like chilling around and I enjoyed it. 4.5, great song. Yep, this is a silent moment. Thanks, Chris.
It's because I don't know how to,
You don't know.
I like the song. I guess I'm just not feeling it anymore. And that's on me. And that's totally on me. I kind of got this sense that he wanted to be understood, that people didn't understand him.
I feel like OGs understood him, even if regulars, his peers and young folk
and
don't.
I do respect that, but for like just how I interpret it, I can see that he's getting the validation from the OGs, and that's great. But I feel like he's still kind of, you know, struggling with like other people not liking him. Maybe it's like an acceptance thing.
But I don't feel like it's like that. I feel like he recognizes other people don't like him, and he no longer cares because he's getting the validation from the people who count.
So in a sense, like because the people who count care, he feels understood now.
He feels like he's understood by where it counts, and he doesn't need the fucking validation of peasants. It's like, who if the king likes you, who the fuck cares if the farmer likes you?
Fair enough.
You know?
Fair enough. Overall, I did give it a 3.9. I don't know. I think I'm just losing my interest at this point, personally.
Whatever. Every time it's track 16. I'm kidding. Sometimes Chris fades out at the end. Anyway, let's talk about some Canadian fucking awesomeness on the next track, Smoking Song.
Ain't no erasing mistakes, we just learn from them till we earn from them. That's how I.
For those of you who thought by Canadian goodness I meant weed, I meant bad, not good, who made this fucking beat, who come from Toronto, Canada, and is possibly one of the coolest things in terms of beats I've heard. Like, if I understand, they're a jazz band, but like they did a whole album with Ghostface Killah. They were on that Snoop Dogg song where he got in trouble with Trump. They're fucking great. Whatever they do, I find sounds super fucking amazing. So forget about him. That beat alone on this is like a standalone, like fucking above the rest of the album in terms of quality. And this song is fine. Like, you know, I just came to smoke. Don't blow no Reggie my way. Matter of fact, stay out of my way. I'm going to just sit in my corner here, roll up my dope on my dolo fresh. I don't care as much about what he's saying on this song, but he flows perfectly on it. It's the same kind of stuff. He's doing his thing. He does it on his own, whatever. But he doesn't want some fake shit. He only wants real quality. He only wants real proper shit, both in weed and in life. And I like how he's gone from like backwoods and exuberance and shit to papers, which is a more economic and practical way to do it. And he puts a little hash on the end of the joint just to give him a little bit whatever. But he's finessed from excess, like a blunt is excessive. Honestly, in most cases, yes, if it burns slow or whatever. But you put a lot of weed in a blunt compared to a paper. And what papers is just a different, it's a more Parcy, it's a less sharing. It's not about with your friends. It's you smoke what you got to and then you move on to the next thing.
I'm not making these faces because I disagree. Don't think that.
I
I'm
don't
just
care.
I'm just saying
whatever.
because
Either way.
I know people who smoke papers and I know people who smoke blunts. And I think that from my understanding, the people that I guess I associate with who smoke blunts, they consume probably as much as the dudes who smoke papers, just not as frequent. Like the dude who smoking papers, let's say he smokes a Parcy, it's like a gram per pape or whatever, a gram per spliff. These guys are out here, 3 grams in a blunt, smoke that to the head, and they're good for like X amount of hours.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Like, I guess it depends on what type of smoker you are.
I feel like
say.
blunts are a better social option because they burn
course.
slower and you pack more into it. But Parcy's is a better paper thing because why you really need to smoke a blunt why you need to do that if you're just by yourself, isolated. Anyway, I love the beat. I love the flow. I love the overall tone of the song. I give this a 5 on 5. This is my favorite song on the album. It's fucking great. And it's really like Bad, Bad, Not Good. Took it to the next level and he hit it just perfectly for this whole track. That's what I thought.
I gave it a 4.5 on 5. I enjoyed the vibe to it. I didn't really...
Relatively speaking, Chris is saying the same thing.
I didn't really... At first, I didn't really like the whole kind of like smokerish, slow talking type of vibe, kind of zony, phasey out there. But then like when you really kind of look past that, I guess, stereotypicalness...
There's not that much stereotypicalness to me.
I like that it's him.
But I feel like this is more of like just there's a bit of a throwback to a certain vibe maybe, but it's the same vibe he's been calling on for the whole album. It's just a slightly different vocal style on this one, but it fits that complex beat, right? Because the beat is drawing so much attention that he can't come at it super tricky. It's the right move for this. Anyway, great song. You don't have to agree. I don't care.
4.5.
I guess you agree. Anyway, for this album, I gave the whole project a 4.38 on 5. There's a lot of moments I love. Stylistically, some stuff are not my favorite, but I ended up liking it more than I thought I would. And this whole jazz rap thing is starting to really grow on me because so often the lyrics and the ideas that get explored here are just so much better than in trap. Like, I don't really want to hear about how you're fucking my girl. I do want to hear how you're coping with the fake bullshit of reality and trying to be a real person because I feel like this is a subject we need to talk about more in life. And I do like how he did the consensual sex song. Like, that's fucking next level. And I do like how he's, like, trying to be authentic. And he just... I crave that personally. And I think that this album is going to be a contender for a lot of people's album of the year. Maybe not mine. But it's definitely up there in terms of interesting content. And if I was more into jazz, I'd be giving this 5s all around. And that's really what's keeping me from it is stylistic preference, not quality of music and quality of rapping. In fact, Mick Jenkins is another dude from my arsenal of how the fuck you gonna talk about how real rap don't exist? Have you heard of? And then my list gets bigger because dudes like Mick Jenkins are dropping albums. So there's so much great quality music out there, and I'm happy I heard this project, and I will definitely be recommending it to people because it's good to have these kinds of albums on deck for people who don't believe good music gets made and they don't want to support good music because they don't believe it exists, Anyway, that's my thoughts on that.
I give the album a 4.1. I enjoyed this album experience. I enjoyed the theatrical experience that I kind of got in my head. I like what he's done with the different sounds and how he's kind of integrating again like the whole jazz feel to things. I think that some of the 3s I gave on this album, it's just because I don't like the sound of it. It's not for me exactly. But I would also recommend people listening to this album as somebody who enjoys music, as somebody who enjoys discovering new sounds and new perspectives and new ways of trying to figure it out. It's like I could see this being a contender for certain people. Again, not me, but certain people.
It's like it's a really great project. Anyway, thank y'all for watching. Really appreciate you sticking with us. Let us know in the comments what you think about this album, about our review, about the style of music in general. If you think there's good quality music out there, or if you think people are dicks about not doing their own research. Anyway, special thanks to our patrons, Linda Williams, Ismail Gadamsi, Super Old School 1994, and Chris Prado. They support us. We have a tier where you get to force our hand in album reviews for once a month. Patreon decides what we do. Plus, when you sign up, you get a free album, what we do as quick as possible. Then you can get shit early. I don't know. Help us grow, get better shit up in here so it looks nicer and sounds better, and get better teams and stuff. Anyway, if you don't want to do that, you don't care, you can always subscribe and be cool like that. You can hit that like button if you dug it. If you can hit that dislike it and hopefully give a constructive comment about how we can get better, that would be cool. And you want to follow us on Twitter, that would be dope. And all that good shit. Sellout time over. I really appreciate you being here, and it really, really authentically means the world to me that we can still be doing this after almost 2 years. So thanks.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.